So this demo is a one-day development of portrait painting, moving from underpainting, a little bit of planar analysis, and just a quick development of moving from the dead palette into a little bit more of a figure painting palette. So here's the image I worked with. This is the same image. I did the planar analysis. So you might get your planar analysis out before you start your painting. It might help you get started with it. So there's the first image. Make sure you gesso your canvas, and the more that you prime your canvas, the smoother it is, the smoother your painting is for portraiture. And some people really like a really silky surface to paint on. So you could even prime your canvas more and then sand it if you really liked that glassy kind of feel to the canvas. So here's the first move. Just like we did with the planar analysis, establish your overall head shape and your central axis, both on the vertical and the horizontal. I tend to not just establish a single, I do a band, and that band is there to encompass the brow to the cheekbone for the eye sockets. So going with a wider band that is the height of the eye socket can help you map your face better. And then honestly, all I do is just a small indication for the bottom of the nose. Um, the the nose comes down one eye length, so if this is your eye length right here, flip that from here to here, starting at the middle right here of the nose where your glasses would sit. So from here to here is one eye length, okay? And then from edge to edge is from the middle of the nose to the bottom of the lip. So from edge to edge of the eyes, if you take that measurement from the nose, bridge of the nose, down vertically, it'll go down to the bottom of the lip. Okay. Next, I think you should start building your overall value patterns. And remember that you want to do the entire socket dark, because even though the whites of your eyes appear to have a lot of light in them, they are set very far back in your head. So they're very shaded from the brow. So even though you will want to put a lot of detail in there, start with not the darkest dark, but at least a light wash for the sockets so that you never allow that area to get too light. And then I just map out just really basic values. The next move, just start putting a little bit less medium in your burnt sienna or the Payne's Gray. It doesn't matter what you use, honestly. Either works. This is a burnt sienna, and I'm just putting a little bit less medium in it and building up the darker of the shadows. So a little bit more on the upper lip, a little bit more on the inside of the eyes. Next for me is getting the hair shape, and you want that hair shape to be pretty accurate. And this is a really important moment right here in portrait. The way that your hair breaks along your forehead, your hairline, is really unique to you. So you definitely want to be very, very particular about that shape. So where this can be very general, the more specific you get this, the more it will look like you. Okay, next move. Just slowly start building up the values. So I'm just like starting to kind of guesstimate where my eyes are going to be. Whenever I do the pupils, I always connect the upper lid value with the pupil at the same time. I always treat that as a single shape because it tends to cross over that pupil. Maybe looking for some nostrils. Just don't overdo it. Just build this up slowly so that you have plenty of time to still shift things around if you're unhappy with placement. Here I think I started to introduce the Payne's Gray a little bit. So I definitely have a cool side here and more of a warm side. Um, and the Payne's Gray mixed with that burnt sienna makes a really good black. So now I could start getting a little bit of a difference on the upper lid, maybe getting the shape of the nose, really establishing that upper lip. Still just two color dead palette colors here. Okay, so start establishing the darkest darks. So here we've got, the apron straps, the shape that starts to delineate the cheek, a little bit under the hair. Try to just chunk out the hair into parts. You never want to paint individual hair. You want to break it into chunks. So here's one right here. It sits in front of here. And then there's this chunk and this chunk. That's the best way to look at hair. And then as you proceed, you can start maybe delineating some of those wispy bits at the end, but you always want to start pretty general. Okay, so I've started to move into my fuller palette. I think you should always move from cool colors to warm colors last. So I don't even put my cadmiums out at the beginning. I only have my magentas, alizarin crimson, violets. I tend to neutralize them or mix them into my dead palette. So I'm pretty sure this is a alizarin crimson mixed with some burnt sienna and the Payne's Gray. And I'm only moving between values. So if I pick up the darker of the alizarin crimsons, I'm going to lay them everywhere I see. And then I picked up a lighter version of that same. So you'll notice in portraiture it's really smart to move in opposites. So pick up a dark, and then the next round pick a light up. Next round pick up a dark, maybe it's a warm dark, and then next round pick up a warm light. And then next time you might pick a cool color, and then in opposition to those warm sets. But I tend to always move from a light value to a dark value, and then back to a light value and back to a dark value. And you can see I'm really defining those same planes that we were looking for in the planar drawing we did. So here I was really emphasizing highlights. So you don't always have to use a dark to create an edge. On this side, I really saw this edge, and instead of using a dark here, which seemed too harsh, I just used a really bright to kind of create that upper plane that you see on the upper cheek. And I'm really doing this fast, you guys, and sloppy so that you guys can understand that you don't have to paint really precisely. You can paint loosely and generally, and you can just work it slowly over time and it'll start to take form. But you can be really, really loose. Next move, I'm starting to increase the warmth a little bit more of those desaturated magentas. Still seeing those three values here. Trying to get those pinks, especially into the darks. So under the eyes, the nose, the lip, the cheek. I mean, just put those warm colors where blood pools. And then you guys need to start distributing these colors in the hair. So your hair is just an extension of your skin. And color doesn't sit still, we know. So if you pick up a color for all of us, every color that you find in our faces and our hair. It might get buried, it might be seen mostly in the shadows, but it will feel more unified if you use every color everywhere. Don't just leave the hair for these like out of the tube browns. It's going to look unnatural. It's going to look cartoonish, and it's going to look flat because it doesn't have the same level of chromatic development that the face does. So just start distributing your colors. Also, just because I pick up a darker pink doesn't mean I have to use it with the same pressure. So here I'm laying on a really dark stroke, but this is the same color and I'm just putting it on lightly. So don't forget that pressure applies to paint as well. Okay, next move, uh, I've introduced a little bit of a brown up here, here. I'm using I think I used the burnt umber actually. It's a really good brown if you guys have that one. It's almost black. It's just a warm black. It's really nice. I used it to kind of redefine some things, shift some things around, um, get that cheekbone, overemphasize those planes. You can soften everything later, but paint's hard to control. So the stronger you can hold on to those edges, the longer, I think it's easier to not lose that volume. You can always soften things later. So I'm really overemphasizing these shapes. I might take this painting another day and spend some time making things a bit more natural, but it's fine just to be kind of exaggerated features. Next, I'm introducing some yellows and oranges. Remember, introduce that background pretty soon because as soon as you do, that color is going to hop into everything. It's going to reflect back into the hair. I found it in the face. As soon as I put it on the canvas behind my portrait, I started seeing that color. As soon as I put the yellow down in my shirt, I started to see that color in other places. It reflected here. I saw it in the hair, reflecting into the hair. Um, so those colors are not just going to stay in the background. They're going to hop around the painting. So you should introduce one color at a time and then distribute. Distribute that color in as many places as you can. I promise if you pick any color up, you'll find it, and you'll find it everywhere if you look. Okay, so still sort of developing the hair a bit, putting a little bit more definition up in the lips, really looking for the sphere of the chin, the sphere of the nose. Uh, the eyeballs are spheres. The eyelids just rake across them and you can't see the back of the ball, but these are just balls. So they can be treated in the same way that you see the nose and the the cheek and the chin. Still picking up different colors. I think I found like a nice saturated red, and those warm ones will really come forward at the end. And that's why I don't like to use them until the end, because I already have these pink ones that are more passive and they're falling back, like shadow-like, and these warm ones are really operating to come forward. So do them last, because they're sitting on top. Once again, once I pick it up, I distribute it. I put it in as many places as I can. So just picking up a new color every time, maybe picking up a little bit of a yellow, picking up a little bit of a blue in the side here and here, also over here. Um, Whenever you guys do close up, here's a close up of the eye. Whenever you guys do this kind of painting, it's actually more effective to go wet into wet, and put a couple colors on your brush because you'll get more of this raking of one color into the next if you work wet into wet. And it's actually pretty beautiful. So it can be scary, but if you can work quickly and just keep developing that area, wet into wet's going to give you this sort of really complex look that you see on the eye. And then here's pretty much at the end of my one day. So I have, exaggerated portrait, exaggerated face. So this is a good one day, and then I could spend some time developing more. Okay, hope that gets you started. Good luck.